How do you respond when you're told that you need to change? You need to hear this. Welcome to God Answers Prayer. I'm Linda Tiano. I'm your host today. And in Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 through 7, it says, "Trust in the Lord completely, and do not rely on your own opinions. With all your heart, rely on Him to guide you, and He will lead you in every decision you make. Become intimate with Him in whatever you do, and He will lead you wherever you go. Don't think for a moment that you know it all, for wisdom comes when you adore Him with undivided devotion and avoid everything that's wrong." Today's story is a compelling story of struggling to know, who am I? Joshua Kram is sharing how Yahweh finally got her attention and the role Joshua Kram played. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back. I'm here with Allie and Joshua Kram. It's good to have you. Is it Kram? Or
Yes.
Kram?
Yes.
Kram, okay. It's good to have you with us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. And, let's just start with you, Allie, because you grew up with an identity crisis. I mean, when did that start? Was it just seemingly always there?
I've always had such a difficult time just loving myself.
Mm-hmm.
I've been struggling with my identity since I was a young kid, always trying to go by a different name, a nickname. And so I was always finding myself just trying to change something about myself.
Yeah, so you started adopting different types of clothing, right?
Yeah, it probably started around, fifth, sixth grade. I started wearing baggier clothes. I chopped all my hair off, and I tried to hide every aspect about myself that was feminine and female, because I totally resented the fact that I was a woman. And so I did everything I could to hide that.
So, I mean, that's a young age.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the time, at least when I was growing up, that was just being a tomboy.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I considered myself a tomboy from like a young kid. I didn't know what the word transgender meant. I had no idea what that was, probably until like later, 6th, 7th grade.
Yeah.
I just knew that I hated my body. I hated that I looked feminine. I hated that I sounded feminine. Anything that had to do with my gender, I hated it.
And you don't really have an idea as to why you felt that way.
Well, I grew up in kind of a tumultuous environment. My parents didn't have the best marriage. They separated around probably when I was 11. I was severely bullied in school. And I felt very insecure in my life in general. I didn't really feel like I belonged anywhere. So I looked for community in all the wrong places.
Right.
I began talking to some people online, ended up dealing with some pretty awful forms of harassment and bullying outside of the internet space as well. And so I turned to the Gay Straight Alliance at my school and the LGBT community at my school for some, what I thought was community, which at the time it was, but I was left feeling empty still.
Now, let me ask you a question. I mean, you weren't molested,
I had dealt with some sexual abuse
okay, when you were a kid?
when I was a kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that explains some things. Yeah. So then going into trying to fit into groups.
Mm-hmm.
So you moved even deeper into all of this.
Yeah, I mean, I completely buried myself in these groups and their ideas of what gender and sexuality meant and were, and that was a great distraction for what was going on in my home life. Because I really felt like I couldn't talk to anybody at home. My mom was dealing with her own issues, bless her. Same with my dad, and so I had who I thought were my friends and teachers at school that were involved with the Gay Straight Alliance as well. I considered them at the time mentors.
Yeah.
It's probably not the best of mentors, but
Yeah, that's very sad that that there's an agenda there.
absolutely. And I remember I was more on the conservative side, even when I was in the Gay Straight Alliance. And not to bring politics into this, but I would say something that slightly strayed from what they wanted us to think. And I remember being ostracized for it. I remember being picked on for any opinion I had that was slightly more right-leaning. And so I learned to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, so then there came a day at school, is that where it was, that you learned about transitioning?
No, actually, I learned what the word transgender meant. I think it was the summer I went into 6th grade. I believe it was a Dr. Oz episode where a man was transitioning into a woman, and I thought to myself, like, that's so strange. Like, I can't imagine being like that when deep down I felt like that. So it was really weird.
So then that was kind of an opening in your mind, though, and so those doors opened wider.
Yeah, I tried to keep the door shut, so to speak. For a little blip, I tried to dress more feminine, but I hated every minute of it. And I realized that the walls were starting to fall down just because of the group of people that I was associating myself with, because I felt closer to all those people. And so why was I trying to hide these feelings if these people were just expressing themselves without issue? So I just felt more comfortable dressing more masculine.
And so then you began to start the process yourself.
Not medically. I didn't start medically transitioning until I think it was the year after I got out of high school. So I graduated high school in 2020, and in March of 2021, I started taking testosterone. And then I believe it was a year later, I legally changed my name. And in the year that I began testosterone, I saw so many changes, and I saw them fast. So seeing all these changes that I have dreamt of for years, it was ecstasy. Like I upped my doses on testosterone just so I could see
more results
faster. And my doctors were helping me. They were trying to help me tweak my dosage, but my blood pressure was rising. I was developing pretty significant anger issues, which I've always had anger issues just because I have not always been happy.
Your husband's smiling.
But yeah, I was having physical symptoms that I was trying to brush under the rug because I was chasing the end result of being male.
Right. So during this time, is that when you met?
Yeah, so we met in August of 2021.
Okay.
And so I had been on testosterone for a few months already. I was going by a masculine name too, and I introduced myself to him as that.
Yeah.
And I remember him asking me, like, he was like, I don't want to offend you, but what are you? Yeah, so I told him, I said, well, like, I am biologically female, but I identify as male. My pronouns are he, him, and this is the name I go by. And he never told me anything negative. He accepted me as I was at the time, and slowly throughout the months that we knew each other, he started slipping in little things about Jesus and church and that he was a Christian. I mean, out the gate, he was loud and proud Christian, but he started trying to see where I was at, and eventually he started inviting me to church. And so after years of not having stepped into a church, I finally went to church with him. That was terrifying. It was so scary.
So Joshua, let's hear your side of this. I mean, because...
Sure, yeah. So Allie and I met through work, and we got partnered up, and kind of from the get-go, as far as I knew, my partner was a dude. You know, he was just a guy that I worked with a male name, and as we interacted a little more, I was a little confused. Like, I was like, wait, is this a woman that's trying to present as manly? Is this a man that's trying to be more feminine? I wasn't really sure, so I clarify with her.
These days, you kind of have to do that,
Yeah,
right?
and I mean, I guess I was very blunt about it, as I can be, I guess. And I think that Allie appreciated my directness. I was always upfront about my beliefs. I think that when the question came to it, at some point I did say to Allie, like, I hope you understand, like, regardless of what you say that you are, I believe that God made you, I believe that God made you a woman, and that's what you are. If you want to be called something, I'll respect that, because, I had individual respect for her as a person. But I don't believe that you were ever under the illusion that I bought into the concept that you could actually change your gender. I just was trying to be respectful and meet you where you were at. Jesus says, "Come as you are."
Right.
He doesn't have us stay that way, but on the get-go, there is an initial acceptance of us in our sin and where we're at. And so I wasn't really sure how to navigate this, but I kind of was just tried to follow Christ's example of just accept people as they are currently.
And that's such a picture of how we all should be, instead of pushing people away, seeing who the person is, who did God create,
Yeah.
And trying to let the Holy Spirit show you things. So you're going to church together, and
A few times.
yeah. So tell us about how it progressed.
Yeah, so the first time we went to church together, I was having such anxiety. I didn't even want to get out of the car. Just walking from the parking lot into the sanctuary felt awful. I was so scared. And I remember sitting down, listening to the message, and I didn't hear anything that turned me off from it. So I figured, okay, I'm going to come back a few times. Let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
Wasn't expecting anything out of it. And so we went a few times, and then I started going on my own multiple times a week. And I was still identifying as male, presenting as such. Everyone that I talked to at church, I thought I was male because I didn't introduce myself any other way.
Yeah.
And I felt, the best way I can describe it is I felt my heart slowly start to melt. And I began wanting to understand this man named Jesus more. And so I was reading my Bible and talking to some friends that I knew were Christian. But I still, even though I wanted to learn more about Jesus and I wanted to involve myself in the church, I still felt convicted within myself that I needed to stay locked into this identity. I still hated the idea that I was born into a female body. I was uncomfortable with every aspect of my femininity. So I didn't know how I was supposed to follow Jesus wholeheartedly with this mask that I had on.
Okay, let's hold that right there because we're going to come back and talk about what happened there. As you're listening to this, are you somebody that you're really relating to what's being said? I want to invite you to call the number at the bottom of the screen. It's our prayer partners number. We've got wonderful prayer partners that love the Lord. They will love on you, but more than anything, they know the person of Jesus, of Yeshua HaMashiach, the Messiah, who loves you and who has a plan and a purpose for your life. No matter what you may think of yourself, you need to find out what He thinks of you. Give us a call. We'll be right back after this. Well, we're back with Joshua and Allie. And Allie, so you were still comfortable with where you were. So when did things begin to change on that level?
Gosh, I tried to figure out ways that I could change my mindset because I thought I just had the wrong mindset about who I was. And so I remember I tried looking at myself in the mirror without like a chest binder on and just saying to myself like, I'm a woman. And I could not even bring myself to look in the mirror. It was awful seeing myself not covered up.
Yeah.
And I think I just accepted at that point that I was going to stay in this weird gray area where I know who God is, but I need to continue identifying as male. I know God says that we are fearfully and wonderfully made, but I didn't feel like I was fearfully and wonderfully made.
But there was a spiritual bondage at work in your life.
Yeah, as much as I wanted to just let go of it, I couldn't let go of it.
Right.
It took a few months, and we even had an argument one night after church in the parking lot because Joshua, he told me that if I wanted to have a relationship with Jesus, that I needed to be honest with myself. And, sorry.
That's okay.
And I remember in that moment thinking, wow, I thought I had a friend that accepted me as me, but here he is telling me that I need to be honest with myself about who I am.
And that was a huge chance for him, I'm sure, right, Joshua?
Yeah.
I thought after that argument that we had, I thought I'm never going to see this person again.
So
Were you
angry.
having feelings for her?
No.
Not at that point.
No, not at that point. I mean, if I'll be real, I've always found Allie attractive, but at that point in my life, that was not. It was not the right time for me to be pursuing something like that.
Yeah.
And so I had basically walled myself off to anything like that. Plus, I was essentially attempting to evangelize this individual.
Yes.
And so I generally just kind of did my best to that's not the relationship that I had with her at the time. You know, she was a coworker that I respected very much.
All right, so continue, Allie.
Yeah, so after that night, after me storming off, I think we went a few weeks without talking. And I fell into a very deep depression again. And I've had a pretty significant history with depression, but this was the darkest I have ever felt. And I contemplated with myself so many times about whether I should just give this up and go for that relationship with God, or if I should just stay in this comfort zone. And whatever happens, happens. Like if I'm damned to go to hell, I'm just going to go to hell. It is what it is at this point. And so one day I was driving to the gym, and I felt so low. I was planning out my suicide attempt. And so I parked my car at the gym, and I just sat there for a minute. And I began to cry, and I yelled out for God, and I screamed and I cursed. Every foul word came out of my mouth. Like, why, God, was I feeling like this if this wasn't your plan? If I'm supposed to be a woman, why do I feel like I'm a man? Why do I feel like you made a mistake in creating me? Like, why can't I just die? Because I had been in pain for years. And so after yelling and crying out to God, I just kind of sat with myself and accepted that I was going to go kill myself after the gym. So I went inside to start my workout, and I put my earbuds in so I'd be left alone, but I didn't play any music. And I just worked out for a minute, and then through the silence, and the pain in my heart, a weight just completely lifted off my shoulders. And I heard a voice say, "You're okay. You're a woman, and you're going to live your life for me." And from that moment, I have never felt any sort of discomfort with my sex or my gender. In that moment, years of pain and gender dysphoria, disgust and distaste for my gender just
Out the window.
disappeared.
Praise God.
It was amazing. And I thought I was going crazy. I didn't know how to reconcile any of that. It was just fantastic.
And so, at that point, who did you turn to?
Well, I went home right away. And I got home, and I immediately texted him. And I don't remember exactly what I told him, but something along the lines of, I think I heard God speak to me. Like, I feel like I'm a woman. And I'm pretty sure he thought that I was losing it a bit, because that's kind of an astronomical thing to experience.
Yeah.
How do you communicate that to someone?
But to someone who knows the lover of their soul and that love relationship, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
You just had not had that.
Yeah. It felt crazy. But I remember thinking in those few days after, like, what is my life going to look like now? I had stopped taking testosterone immediately after that. And I kind of just decided that I was going to go with the flow. And I began to think about what I wanted for my future. And the idea of becoming a wife and a mother for the first time in my life was something that sounded appealing to me. I never dreamed that I would be a wife to someone or a mother. And I have just been blessed.
So we've only got a minute and a half left. But how did you finally get together?
I don't know that there was a one conversation. I know that I think in March, late March, that following was it 2023?
Yes.
That I finally just decided that, I'm like, well, this is a woman that I know that loves the Lord. we've always gotten along together. We've always worked very well. I'm going to ask her out. So we went and saw a movie, and we've just been together ever since. We got married in February of 2024. And it's been good. I think Allie is that life partner that I've always desperately longed for, and I hope that I have been that community that she's always longed for.
It's a beautiful story of somebody that knew what you wanted, to somebody that you thought you knew what you wanted, and you were willing to look at something that didn't look at all like what you thought you wanted or what the Lord had shown you, but you could see maybe even through the transformation.
I had no idea that God was going to bring this out of my relationship with her. I just knew that there was a person in front of me, and the Lord told me to tell this person about him.
Praise God.
I was faithful in that.
Thank you so much for sharing. This is beautiful. And maybe you can come back sometime and fill out even more of
Absolutely.
the details. If you are somebody that's going through this, or if you know someone, I hope that you will tell them about this broadcast and let them hear. The enemy tries to hide our identity. He really doesn't want us to know what and who we are, who the Lord has called us to be, the giftings that he's placed in us. And it's a trick. It's a trick. But there's the one who loves you more than life itself, and his name is Yeshua HaMashiach. Please say yes to him today. And now may the Lord bless you and keep you. May he make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May he lift up his countenance upon you and give you his everlasting peace. Shalom, shalom.
Thank you for joining us today on God Answers Prayer. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on our program, please contact us by visiting kchftv.org and click on Share Your Testimony. Our prayer partners are here to pray for your needs. Call us today at 505-345-4165. We appreciate your prayers and support. Join us again next time for more inspiring stories and testimonies. Remember, God is always listening, and he answers our prayers in his perfect timing.